Welcome, everyone, to today's interview. I'm thrilled to introduce our guest, Rohan Brown, the founder of Pitch Mayhem, as an active advocate for Right to Start, a national campaign focused on championing entrepreneurship and ensuring that anyone who wants to start a business has the opportunity to do so. Pitch Mayhem is an innovative platform designed to help startups refine their pitches and connect with investors. With a rich background in entrepreneurship and passion for helping other startups succeed, Rohan has been instrumental in shaping how companies present their ideas to the world. In this episode, we'll dive into how Pitch Mayhem is revolutionizing the pitch process for tech, SaaS, and e-commerce startups nationwide. We'll explore the challenges these companies face in securing funding, the importance of a strong pitch, and how Rohan's work with both Pitch Mayhem and Right to Start is empowering entrepreneurs to bring their ideas to life. I hope you enjoy. Hey, good morning, Rohan. Thanks for joining us, man.
No, I appreciate the invite. I'm excited about this. You have no idea.
No, absolutely, man. I love having you on. So just wanted to chat with a little bit to share a little bit about your background story and your journey about how you got into working with early stage companies, especially early stage entrepreneurs.
Brett, that's a great question. It started with my own journey. So coming out of college, I knew I wanted to start a company, but I was not familiar with tech at all. I didn't even know this industry, the startup space existed how it did. And it was fortunate enough to join a startup that was up and coming in the sports tech realm. I myself, D1 athlete, having that connection with sports, the concept just made sense to me. And what it was a chance for fan-to-fan engagement. So you could be at home and compete against other fans with the live broadcast. And the more animated you were, the more questions you answered during trivia, the more points you can accrue for your team right from the comfort of your own home. And then you get a digital coupon from a McDonald's or Forever 21 or such like that. And the goal was to really drive people out of their house and create traffic into those retail locations. But in pursuing that concept, I learned so much, was able to meet some celebrities, be in some pitch competitions, and I kind of just fell in love with this startup space, like the grind, the grit, the entrepreneurial wit you need to have to be strategic in how you go about your go-to-market strategy or even accumulating partners. So it really started in my early 20s, coming out of college. Like since then, I've just been nothing but tech startup, and I fell in love with the space.
I love it. And today you have Pitch Mayhem and then Right to Start. You're an ambassador for the Right to Start program. Can you tell us a little bit about both?
Well, even prior to me getting out of college, I've always had this entrepreneurial mindset. I remember like selling candy in elementary school. I used to do paper airplanes, like not regular paper airplanes, like, some elite stuff, as an 8-year-old, and selling it to my classmates. So I always had that entrepreneurial mindset. So with Right to Start, it really is an opportunity to back the organization, which is advocating for the policies and initiatives to make it easier for people to start and grow businesses. I, for one, even outside of tech, believe entrepreneurs are problem solvers. They're the ones that are going to save the economy. They're the ones that are going to be solving the bigger problems that we as a society, as a world, as a whole are experiencing. So I just support the organization and their initiatives and making sure that there's laws put in place, policies put in place so that people can start their own business, no matter what it is. Retail, e-commerce, SaaS, like we need more people starting their own business. So that's where the Right to Start organization comes into play. I'm an ambassador for the state of Nevada as well as Connecticut. And being from Hartford, Connecticut, and doing a lot of work in Nevada, I just thought those two states make the most sense for me. And then with Pitch Mayhem, which is a whole nother monster, in my entrepreneurial journey, realizing that I know a lot of founders, I know a lot of investors. For founders, as you can imagine, personally, it's hard to raise capital, right? You need somebody there that's helping you along the way, holding your hand in a certain extent. So I took it upon myself to create innovative events, competitions that put entrepreneurs, founders in front of investors and vice versa, helping investors with their deal flow so that they're not digging through the weeds and they're being presented with deals that have been vetted. So this competition really creates a platform, a stage for these two groups to come together, but in a fun, interactive, innovative way. So Pitch Mayhem is literally March Madness meets Shark Tank. We have a bracket style tournament where founders can go against one another and get vetted and pitch in front of accredited investors, VCs, angel investors, so that they can, one, be on their radar, two, show off what they have to offer as far as their business concept. But three, I think what's missing in this space is exposure. I think entrepreneurs, founders, they don't get enough exposure. So I'm hoping for this platform is going to eventually get to that point where you come on, maybe you don't win and get to the finals, but somebody catches what you're working on, they fall in love with it, they see it being relevant to what they want to get involved in, even from a strategic partner standpoint or even investment standpoint, and they get your name out there. So Pitch Mayhem is strictly focused on trying to get founders to relocate to the state of Nevada, but I think there's, an outside benefit just being seen and being on the radar of investors that come from all over the world, because while we're focused on Nevada as the relocation destination, we have investors that are worldwide that are within our competition that are the judges vetting these founders and what they're working on.
No, that's awesome. I love the Shark Tank meets March Madness. I don't know that you can explain to any better way than that. And that's, I think, some of the thrill of coming to watch some of the Pitch Mayhem events. So, and you're working with these founders from kind of early stage to getting their pitch right to what they're saying. How else do you work with early stage founders and getting them out some of that publicity or share of voice?
So one is through the tournament, but I also like to talk to the founders, get to know them, and see if I can make a personal introduction myself to investors that I have in my network. So mostly founders that are at the pre-seed, seed stage. So they have a product, they have some traction, they know who their customers are. They're a little bit closer to product market fit versus somebody who's at the ideation stage or someone who's past Series A. I think that gap, when you talk about pre-seed, seed is where most companies drop, they fall. So I think that's the space/stage they need the most help. So that's, I believe, my sweet spot is. So aside from helping them with their pitch decks, aside from helping them with introductions to investors, I'm helping them maybe figure out what the best strategic roadmap is, any partnerships that they can think of, because I feel like in this space, in my experience, after starting two companies myself and just doing these competitions, what's fed to us is this very linear roadmap when it comes to raising capital or starting a business, when there's so many different ways, outlets, and variables to go about growing a company. So I just like to promote alternatives to founders so that they're not stuck in a bubble, stuck on this tunnel that may not be the best fit for them. So I'm trying to be a full wheelhouse when it comes to, founders, sort of like an athlete, right? Like it's not just the physical, it's not just the skill, it's the mental. So just figuring out how I can be an assistance, whether it's like an agent capacity or coach, essentially.
Yeah, no, I love the all around, the complete approach that you're doing. And it seems like it kind of rolls right into the start to involve or right to start program from a synergy, a partnership. How does Right to Start and Pitch Mayhem, it sounds like they kind of commingle from what you're overall trying to accomplish for early stage founders?
For sure, because with Pitch Mayhem, what we're doing is providing a dynamic platform where founders can showcase their ideas, connect with investors, and receive that critical feedback that they need to scale their business. Where Right to Start is kind of doing more on the political side, trying to make sure there's policies in place. And while it's really across the board and generalizing that entrepreneurial endeavor, Pitch Mayhem more focuses on the tech aspect of it, right? So you're an entrepreneur for sure, that's across the board, but Pitch Mayhem is focused on tech founders particularly. So as there's founders or entrepreneurs that are coming through the Right to Start pipeline, if they're working on tech, Pitch Mayhem may be a great platform for them to get their name, their business concept out there.
Yeah, no, I love it. And then once they get the name out there, it comes the time for these businesses to start pitching. Can you share right? A lot of early stage founders, tech companies, even early stage entrepreneurs that are outside of the tech or software arena have to go through pitches either for VCs or for banks or from private equity. Can you share a couple of the common challenges that you see with early stage founders pitches?
So there's a few. first I'm going to start with the end to answer this question is the ask, right? Making sure that you understand what you're asking or trying to get out of the pitch. Is it investment dollars? Is it a partnership? Is it an introduction? Like, what is your ask? And making sure that you start your pitch, making sure that the conclusion or the end of that pitch leads to that ask. A lot of founders, when they flawlessly go through their pitch, but then it's like, okay, well, how much money are you raising? What are you looking for? Why are you pitching to me? Like, where's the relevance? I think that's one thing that usually comes up. The second thing is like, you have to pitch in a way of understanding the other side's logic framework, right? Like you really have to break it down in the sense of like, you're talking to a 5-year-old, you're talking to a 10-year-old. Make it as simple as possible so that it's an easy yes, hard no, right?
Yeah.
If you're complicating the pitch, if you're adding all these numbers, all these terms that the general population, the general investor may not know, and of course it depends on who you're pitching to. If they're in your industry aligned with what you're doing, use the terminology however you please. But if it's a general investor, dilute what you're saying a little bit and making sure that you're simplifying it. Because if you're trying to build this 20x company, more than likely it needs to hit the masses. The masses don't know those terms. So you need to be able to dilute your terminology, your pitch, so that a 5-year-old or 10-year-old can explain it. Most founders, they tend to overcomplicate things, whether it's to be honest, to sound smart or to sound like this is like the most unique thing ever. When actuality, you need to make it the most simplest thing ever. Like it's actually the complete opposite. And the last one I would say is like your numbers. Make sure your numbers make sense, because as soon as something just seems off as far as what your projections are, what your go-to-market strategy is, or we're going to get 1 million customers in the next 6 months, you better have a pretty clear roadmap of what that looks like and have evidence to prove that you can get to that number within 6 months. So I think those are the 3 things that come up the most commonly. The ask, simplifying the terminology, because the companies I work with are working on a lot of emerging technology. So like Web3, IoT, smart city solutions, advanced manufacturing. The majority of the public doesn't know any of those terms. So simplifying that. And then of course, the last one would just be making sure that the numbers make sense.
I love it, right? Although companies don't pitch us, we hear all the time companies that are coming in, talking to us a little bit about their product. And I think that's one of the hardest things I try to tell founders, like, I'm not completely in your space. I'm open to listening on this, but you're really speaking in a completely different language to us. And if I can't understand this, how on earth can I ever provide you growth capital into your organization?
Exactly.
And really touching on even the ask, we try to get asks to keep asks on earth. For somewhere along the line, like it's always swing for the fence, and they feel like they can back down. I'm like, hey, just what is the on earth number of what you truly need to scale your and keep this on earth? Hey, 2022, 2021, land of free money is over. Let's keep this on earth. So yeah, I definitely like those sides of kind of how you're working with these early stage companies to prepare them for what's come across us from providing them with growth capital.
I'm sorry, I'm gonna have to use that. You said you keep your ask on earth.
Yeah, you got to keep your ask on earth. The amount of dollars that we see coming through, request amounts, are sometimes have 10 times more dollars, or even maybe 100 times more of an ask than what's really ultimately necessary. So I don't know if that's a swinging for the fence and they're going to back down to a double or a single, but we're trying to always keep early stage founders asking for something on earth, continue to grow, and then we'll help them get into orbit. So, and although we're not investors ourselves and we provide them with growth capital, how does Pitch Mayhem work with introductions and connections with investors? You talked a little bit about your own personal network. Are there other ways that Pitch Mayhem can work with early stage founders to introduce them or provide them with connections to investors that might be interested?
So there's the competition itself, and the way it's formatted is founders come into the bracket facing off against another founder, but you're pitching to 5 investors at the minimum, right? So that's one way you're getting introduced to investors, you're getting on their radar. And then even the second round, it's a new group of investors. So you're throughout the competition, if you make it to the second round, you're being introduced to at least 10 investors personally, and you have that time with them to answer their questions, pitch to them, a little show off of what you have. What I'm working on, however, is just taking it a step further and actually creating an investment club, right? So the opportunity for these founders to continue to create relationships, create rapport with these investors in a different format, different space. Because you and I both know you're not getting that check off the first, second, or third conversation. It's going to be the seventh, eighth, or ninth. So creating another space where these founders can get in front of investors, but on a more serious note, I think I could be able to do that through an investment club. So getting a lot of investors within this club, from debt financing, equity financing, small angels, or even the regular Joe Schmo, and being able to put everybody in the same room, whether it's virtual or physical.
Yeah, that's one of the things that you touched on there is the time that it might take multiple meetings, and often does, because that's exactly what we say. You can't just walk up to a complete stranger, and unlikely that they're going to buy you lunch or dinner on the first day, that you've never met them before. And
Yeah.
despite how well you sing for supper or whatever it might be, or tap dance across stage, you say, well, it's going to be a series of conversations that you're going to have with them before they ever open up their checkbook and want to have a discussion. So it's important in that early stage of getting the relationship and understanding, is this truly a partner that I want to be partnered with for long-term success? So,
and that's the thing. Like, it's like, to dumb it down, it's dating. That's essentially what it is. Like, you're trying to get to know what the other person, what their mindset is, to some extent, what their morals are. Like, how are they thinking about growing this venture? I can't do that in one or two nor three conversations. So let's keep the conversation going. Let me see what progress you've made since we've had the previous conversation, to see if there's any growth, any movement happening here. So I think that's something that, like, sometimes founders get a little impatient and they don't understand. Like, imagine yourself on the other side of that table. Like, somebody's asking you for your money, and they just want it after the first time you're meeting. Like, you're not going to do that. Like, let's be realistic. Like, it takes time. It takes rapport. And do you really want to just take somebody's money and be, quote unquote, in bed with them for the next 7 to 10 years when you don't really know them? Like, you yourself as a founder need to vet and date as well. Like, it's just how it works.
Yeah, 100%. I always love the dating analogy. And the piece that we always add on is that once you receive outside capital, venture capital or private equity, whatever the use might be, often those agreements are actually harder to get out of than a divorce, should you have been dating the person. So if you want to, I'm not saying you've got to date your investor for a year or two, or run them to really try to build rapport for that long, but we should really, both sides, slow it down and get to know each other a little bit better, understanding that this relationship really might last longer than the traditional marriage does. And it's going to be a hell of a lot harder to get out of.
Which is crazy, but it's so true.
Yeah, completely. And now you have, right, both of these. You get the Right to Start, you got the Pitch Mayhem. Can you share maybe a success story that's come out of it? Come out of either of those that you're most proud of?
What I'm most proud of is, one, the finalists that were a part of the first Pitch Mayhem tournament. They came from all over the country, but when I brought them into the room and the judges were actually able to assess their concepts, their pitch styles, and what their go-to-market strategy is, the biggest compliment I think I had was, if these founders were all to relocate to Vegas and at the stages that they're at pre-seed seed, they'd be all three of them would be like the top 10. They would be in the top 10 of like startups that are in this market. And I think for me, that made me feel good personally, selfishly. Like, that just made me feel good. Like, I'm doing something where I'm bringing value to the market, where these are some strong vetted companies that would have much success in that market. And I've just flat out been told by, UNLV and a few angels that, like, there's some strong companies we would invest immediately if they were to relocate to Vegas. But the success story that comes out of that was one of the founders, Jawanza Joseph. He's the founder of Parakeet Financial. He's on a hot streak right now. Started a AI compliance manufacturing platform for manufacturers to streamline their compliance side so that they save money, save time. And he won the competition. And the people that I'm working with, UNLV, they're ecstatic about him relocating to Vegas. So it just proves that this model, this tournament is working. there's an appetite for it. It's a different format, different innovative way to get founders in front of investors. So it's just really exciting, and it's just going to become even more. It's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. We have this contract for about 4 years now. I'm sure this will be an extension after that 4 years, but I'm just really excited about creating a platform that's you're not going to find something similar to the way I'm putting together this tournament. So I'm just excited about what's coming down the road.
Oh, I love it. And with what's coming down the road, can you share some of the future plans of Pitch Mayhem and Right to Start? Essentially, how you're going to continue to work with early stage companies, including tech and SaaS, or in any industry? Maybe where do you think things are going to go from here?
So with Right to Start, I'm just hoping to be an advocate for them, to be a microphone to a certain extent of everything that they're trying to push, from the offices of entrepreneurship that are being strung up. First one being in Nevada, which is a huge deal. I'm hoping for one to be strung up in Connecticut as well, because I think it's important. Like, you want a strong economy, you need entrepreneurs, you need founders. But as far as Pitch Mayhem, what's coming down the pipeline is a much bigger tournament, a further reach. We had a few founders apply from Canada and South Africa. I've had investors that were calling me in saying, "Hey, can I be a part of the next one?" That were from the UK and Tokyo. So I'm trying to make this a global phenomenon, and I'm hoping that by the end of next year, 2025, it'll be a global brand. We have another tournament coming up this November as a part of Global Entrepreneurship Week. We're going to be the premier pitch tournament, pitch competition for that event, which is a week long. And that will give us that international reach that we need to really make this one of the biggest things. I'm trying to make this as big as Shark Tank, to be honest. Like, this is going to be what the tech industry needs when it comes to pitch competitions, pitch tournaments, and getting founders the exposure that they need.
Oh, I absolutely love all of what you just said. That's my own warmth in my heart when I'm able to work with an early stage founder, especially one that's really up and coming, that has excitement. I think that's the heartwarming for me as well, and love the future outlook. I mean, you've got your hand in a lot of great things. If our listeners and viewers want to get a hold of you, how do they reach you?
Absolutely. Always can find me on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like my best tool out there for me. Rohan Brown. If not on LinkedIn, you can find me on Instagram. It's Rohan B. Brown. And if you want to reach out to me personally, rohan@pitchmayhem.com. Go to pitchmayhem.com for more information about the tournament. Applications are going to open within a month.
Awesome. I appreciate you joining us today, man. And congratulations and thank you for everything that you're doing for the small business and startup community.
Absolutely. I appreciate you for inviting me on to this interview.
All right. Take care.
Bye.
Hey, thank you, Rohan, for sharing your valuable insights and experiences with us today. Your expertise is in refining startup pitches, connecting with investors, and advocacy with Right to Start has provided our audience with a wealth of knowledge and help them navigate their entrepreneurial journeys. We appreciate your time and look forward to seeing the continued impact that you make on the startup ecosystem. To our viewers, Intrepid Finance is dedicated to empowering growing companies. Intrepid's technology-driven solutions simplifies access to growth capital by enabling scaling companies to realize their fullest potential by providing non-dilutive growth capital, allowing founders to focus on what they do best, building their business. Thanks again for joining us today.